All right, so excited. We've got our next guest on here. This is somebody that I've known about for years and years and years. And the cool part is some of these people you just know from afar, from social media. We have so many mutual friends. It was crazy. We probably have even more. We kept going and going and going and going. I'm like, man, you know every single person, especially in the network marketing profession, all these leaders and legends that you've either personally worked with, coached, or have become associated with. So before we do that, what I want to do this time is I want to make sure I give a proper introduction. So I went to Michael's website, pulled it off. If you go to websites, a lot of times you get these great bios, but I've gotten to know him even a lot better and know even more of what he's done. So this is just a really quick summary, which, by the way, Michael, I tell everybody, for my bio, if it ever looks really good, it's because my mom wrote it for me. So you know, that's something that's fun. We have a little bit of fun with it. But he's the founder of the Human Communications Institute, a leader in the personal and professional development industry. He's impacted hundreds of thousands of people across the world. And I know some of these people that he's impacted and influenced through his programs, books, videos, seminars. I know several top leaders that have gone to his events. In fact, I had one seven-figure earner recently that came back and said, look, Rob, I know your style. And of all the events that you're thinking about going to, because I put it out to the world, I said, hey, I'm thinking about going to a couple of different events this year, mix it up, bring, one or two of my kids. She said, you have to go to Michael's event. And I know that you also recently came out with a book called Average Sucks, which I need to get. I don't have that yet. So I saw that. I'm putting that on the list. I'm ordering it. When I order a book, I read it, I finish it, I study it, and I'm going to give you the update on it. So Michael, before we get started here, why don't you give us like the quick, 2-minute Cliff Note version? Because I know you had success actually in the direct sales network marketing profession, which is my audience, which is pretty cool. Very few have had that. Then you went into studying a lot of communications and stuff really in depth. And even him and I are just having these conversations. He's like, nah, Rob, I would tweak this. I would say it like this, which I love because the ability to learn how to learn is the greatest ability one can have. And so you got to always be constantly learning. So give us the 2-minute version before we dive deep into this fun interview here.
Yeah, I'll give you the ADD version. So I've literally been like everyone on that listens to this. I've been the new person just getting started in direct sales. I've been the frustrated, cannot figure it out, right in the middle of the pack. One day this will work person. I've been a top earner in 2 companies. Number one in a very, I would say a small company, did very well in my early 20s. And my background's simple. Like I literally got a phone call from a buddy. This is a crazy story. Last name's Wood. I'll give you that. I'll tell you who he is later. Crazy story. I'll just remind me to get back on my ADD later. He showed up at my fraternity house in college and I was 17 years old. I graduated, I guess, high school young. And he goes, dude, you want to get into this phone card deal? Like this is 1995. So like, this is one of those cards where you got to dial 852 numbers after a 1-800 number. And then you got in, and I got into direct sales at a young age. He introduced me to this thing. I did it for a couple of months. And I ran out of like what to do. I got bored. I got distracted. I made a couple $1,000. And then I'm like, I swore it off because I'm like, well, I guess it doesn't work for people like me. I guess I don't have the time. And when I was just leaving school, I came across this guy in one of my business classes at a junior college. I was, I guess, invited to leave my regular college because my grades sucked for a bit. So I went to junior college. And while I was there, a guy shared with me an incredible concept about the benefits of owning a business, about tax savings, about all the things. And I bought in hook, line, and sinker. It already was that neural pathway inside of my brain. And for about 2 years of my life, I busted my butt. I did what I needed to do. Did very well with that company. Didn't exactly make it that company, but it was the third company that I got involved with that really everything came together, all the skills, all the learning. And that's where a mentor, and again, Jim Rohn come into my life. That was about 21 years old.
Such a legend.
Yeah, came into my life, took me a little under his wing, helped me out a bit from afar, but was able to help me out with a lot of stuff. But what's so cool about it is that my mentor, my third company, got me to just start to understand. And this was not a top producer in the company. This was a human in the company that I wound up doing way better than, but he got me to understand the power of communication and influence It changed my life. I did very well in direct sales, but I got to tell you, Rob, the same techniques I used in direct sales. The other night, my wife said, I don't know if your wife throws really complicated projects at you. My best friend's in town. We want to go to one of these 3 steakhouses. I'm like, I don't even eat steak, but one of these 3 steakhouses. Spring training's in town. Everything is booked in town. Can we get reservations tonight at 7:00 prime time? But because I learned the skills that I learned years ago, I had a GM's number on my phone from a couple years back, called one GM at one place to get me the other at the number at the other. Walked in at 7:00, got the chef's table, walked right in, got spoiled, looked like heroes in front of my wife's friends. But the same skills that I learned in direct sales years ago, I use every single day in my life. So made millions in the industry, but more importantly, I'm using it in my life, and we've made hundreds of millions of dollars in our company using those same skills on a daily basis. So that's the quick version. And the guy that originally recruited me, ready for the story? I called him to get into my direct sales company 5 years later. He didn't listen to me. I thought he was silly. He told me to invest in his company. I said, yeah, dude, that doesn't sound important. He started Under Armour. Let's get clear. So this is one of the founders of Under Armour. His name is Ryan Wood. And he's the guy that got me into direct sales. He sold his house in Colorado a decade ago for 15 million. So I'm telling you this to be careful who you turn down or what you turn down, because I could have bought a little stock pre-IPO, and I was so obsessed with my company that I did not. Anyways, can't get rich off regrets. So that's my story.
That is a crazy story. And it's like you said, I mean, so many times we have so many different incredible opportunities, but we're just so closed off. We don't know how to assess, don't look. I look back at my friend Laird Riffle, who was offered 5% for 50 grand in a company called Blue Ribbon. Oh. This was back in the day, and you know exactly, most people don't even know what that means.
I was about to get out my calculator right now, and I'm like, I'm picturing how much he lost.
Oh, and that company is now Nike, just to give you guys all an update. He was there at the beginning, was part of it. And then they said, hey, 5%, 50 grand. And he said no. And he still tells that story. But I'm going to segue into a little bit about something you and I were talking about. But before I do that, you said ADD. I'll say ADHD, which stands for dude has dreams.
Yep.
So I do
ADD, a dynamic disorder. So yes.
I had a squirrel moment, and I thought about something you just said about just like the skills that you develop. So I've been trying to create, because some of my teenagers now, they want me to start meeting with some of their friends and talk to them about, you know, wealth and what are the things they need to do. They're starting to ask these questions, which is
good
really
job,
cool.
Dad.
Yeah. One's almost 15, one's almost 17. And so some of the things that I've come up with, I haven't shared with them yet, was things that can help increase their skills. Obviously, public speaking.
Yep.
Actually, studying to be a comedian is one I've never seen taught, but I think that the comedians is the highest form of public speaking, even if you're not going to become a comedian, and can also help increase your likability with conversation. So that was a second random one that I thought of. Third one that I thought of was go knock doors. If you can learn to do that door-to-door sales, even if you're only going to do it for a year, the skills that you develop will be incredible. And the fourth one was, of course, network marketing, because we're doing sales, but we're also learning the importance of relationships and connections and all of that. So we're going to have to talk later, because I know you do a lot with this stuff when we talked about kids and teenagers and stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like not even fully vetted. It's got a lot more to go, but obviously there's steps in between those steps for personal development and action steps. But there's my random ADD.
Well, it's interesting you bring this up. So, I mean, I'll throw it to you. And I always tell everyone, if you don't have ADD, you should go get it. Because in my phone, and this is not to brag, I have a lot of wealthy friends. Here's why, because why not? Does that make sense? I have a lot of friends, and I have a lot of wealthy, like, friends that I have at least 6 or 7 billionaires in my phone, people in trucking companies, a health nut that invented the e-cigarette, as weird as that is. It's a buddy of mine, how strange that is. A health nut, he thought he was doing something good, whatever, nice guy. I got all kinds of millionaire friends. Every one of them has a version of ADD. And let's get clear on this. If you have it, please, I'm going to give you the reframe that I did when I first was diagnosed with this, was that really what it means, it doesn't mean you can't focus. It means you have hyper focus. You just got to find out what you're going to focus on. So people with ADD are like on one thing. It's not that you're like, ooh, rabbits. It's not that. It's like you're focused possibly on just being random at that moment, right? So if I were to take a look at your idea that you have, and we talk about teaching kids. Like I sat down with my daughter the other day. I have a 21-year-old. So if you ever need any help figuring out how to get past the teen years, you will be okay. And a 10-year-old. So we've got the whole spectrum, right? And one of the things that I realized, I said to Maya, I said, my little one, I said, when you go to school, you should be friendly with everyone. Like all 100 kids in your school, be friendly. There's nothing wrong with being friendly with everyone. You can maybe have 4 or 5 friends, but your team, you're lucky if one person out of 100 is going to be on your team. So friends is a Mark Zuckerberg word. It's a stupid word that doesn't mean much anymore. Friends, it's been overruled and overridden. What really is, like, I don't want to be your friend, Rob. I want to be on your team. And my wife is on my team. My kids are on my team, because that word now is 5,000 people. You don't know who they are on Facebook. The word team, there's no disputing what it is. You and I are on the team to win. So my wife and I captain the team. My kids are on my team. My parents are my team. You're on my team. People watching this right now, they're on my team. Friends, a lot of times that's people you lie to. A lot of times that's people you don't really know that well. Your team, those are the winners. So a lot of us, we've got to go back to the basics with our kids and really teach them. If they understand these things at the beginning, being an entrepreneur later is very easy.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm excited for your events. I know we're trying to figure out what dates, and my kids and their tennis dates, and they got, tennis team and all that stuff, but we're going to figure it out, and I'm excited to go there, but get them there as well. So I want to talk a little bit about breakthroughs. It's one of the words that we use all the time.
Love that word.
And we know that in network marketing, there's a ton of burnout. They're dealing with, of course, money, but also with relationships. Also, for many, it's the first time they've had any form of entrepreneurism. They're not being told what to do or have to do anything every second. And a lot of times they start out and it's always the what, as far as make a list, reach out to 50 people, which of course there's importance in a lot of the skills. But my analogy or example I give is, how many people had some sort of success their first month when they knew very little and their energy was high, versus in month 15 when their knowledge now is extremely high, but their energy is low. And they can't figure that out, that simple equation that we just talked about there. And they get stuck and they're like, Michael, like I can't even make my list, and I'm so stuck. And so they don't quit, because they don't want to quit. They still have this long-term belief, but they've lost the short-term belief where they can't even sponsor recruiting one. They don't even want to sponsor and recruiting one, because deep down they feel like, I'm a failure. I haven't had any success. How do I help them have success? So what are some, I don't know, tips, tricks, hacks, secret sauce strategies?
So are we going to like baby people, or do we want to be real? Like, how do we do things here?
Let's just give it to them.
Okay.
Straight.
So this is the
what
thing.
they need.
Let's just get really real. If it's not working for you right now, you're ill-equipped to make it work. Let's just get really real. Currently, the way you do things, capability, you could be doing 1,000,000 times what you're doing. You could forget Grant Cardone's 10X, million X. You could be making a killing with what it is you're doing. So this is what everybody's dealing with in life. So if we were to talk about your child's tennis, or we were to talk about your direct sales industry, most people are never taught this. So have you ever, and I know you're like a tough guy and you do all kinds of crazy things, but have you ever been to like the top of a cliff, or like you've climbed to the top of the cliff, or climbed to the top of a diving board just to get to the top, to stand there for a minute and question yourself? I know I've done that. Have you ever done that? Like looked off?
I did it about 15 months ago. I'm terrified of heights. I did it with skydiving. It had to be this mental, like, don't even think about it. It's not happening. It's not happening. And then I start walking to the edge, those 10 steps. And
it's like this thing is there, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing there, right?
No.
Okay. But there is something there. And after today, every one of you is going to know what's there, and you're going to know what to call it. Because if you can't qualify what you're dealing with, like the concept of fear is such a BS concept. There's no such thing as fear. Fear is if you understand from like the brain, the way the chemicals work, all fear is you're about to have an experience you've never had. So your brain has a blank space. And anytime your brain has a blank space, there's no program. So the reason you go in fear or like this is you've never been there before. This is why Navy SEALs are put through millions of scenarios. So what I'm going to do is this. Most people don't know. Like let's clarify this right now. What made you get into direct sales originally?
Money.
Okay.
Which to me represented time freedom. I felt like I didn't have any time. I wanted to create all those memories.
Okay. Let's just use that as an example. Or someone says, I like the products, or someone says the comp plan, or I wanted to be my own boss. And I'm going to tell everybody, wrong answer. That's not why you got started. Here's why you got started. Because there were things that were not working in your life and you wanted to change them. Am I correct? Like we didn't get started for the comp plan. We didn't get started because, oh my God, the product is so great. You got started because you had no energy. You didn't have good friends. Your job wasn't that great. Your business was tough. You were stressed out. You were worried and you thought about your future. No one has ever got into direct sales because their life was great. Oh my God, my wife loves me so much. We are so intimate. We do it 85 times a week. Everything's so great. I'll find another wife. Never has anyone said that. It's when things aren't good, we look for something else. So I'm going to just draw this real quick so everybody can understand where the breakthrough is. We all get into the point of our lives where we say, never again. And I'm not fancy here, so I'm just going to draw never again. Have you ever said this to yourself? Like you had food poisoning, I'll never eat that food again?
Of course.
Never be treated that way again? Yep. And in that moment, you go like this and you say, I want more. This is what network marketers do when they first get started. You know what? I don't want to be broke in 5 years. You know what? I want to be rich. They don't really think it through. They just don't want to be where they're at. So they build this box for themselves that most of us live in. And what happens is, if you ever go to dinner with people not in our industry, most people's conversations they have is like, what I don't want, Rob, I don't want to be like this, but what I do want is this. I don't want this, but I do want this. And people like bounce their heads between wanting and don't wanting. And that's every conversation of people. What that happens is it becomes their identity. So we identify as a wanter that doesn't have, that's avoiding this. So we're just proud we're not this. One day we'll get here and we live in here. And then this is the crazy part that we need to change. We then go and recruit, and I don't mean network marketing recruit. We got uncles and aunts, friends, girlfriends, brothers, relationships, and friends. We recruit everybody we need to help us stay who we currently are and not get us what we want. So this is what happens is, this is every person in life, even my daughter with figure skating, your kids with tennis, they live inside the box of where they are. This is where they want to live, and they live right here inside of their average. So when I talk about average sucks is, here's the biggest problem. You identify as a school teacher, you're now a business owner, you're confused. It doesn't make sense to you.
Yeah.
Like you, everything in your body screams, I'm a teacher, or everything in your body screams, I'm an insurance salesman. And now I want you to sell vitamins, right? So we've got to get to the other side of this wall. And the only thing that is going to make it in this business, where I'm going to tell you, is like one thing we need to elevate. Do you know, Rob, what we do more than anything all day long, more than anything else in the world? Like what's the one thing that we do more than anything else in the world? I'll give you like 5 guesses, then I'll give you the answer.
Worry?
Worry's kind of it. Yeah, what else?
I mean, it goes with thinking.
Thinking, kind of it, but not the answer.
Okay. Complain?
Kind of it, but not the answer.
We're getting closer. Warmer. It's like warm, cold.
Just one simple word. I'll give you one more out of the 4 out of 5.
You tell me.
Okay, so here's the answer. And when I say it, you're going to be like, that's what he meant. Listen, you can't be 4 out of 5 numbers correct on a lottery ticket and say, I meant that. You just don't win. The word is communication. And communication is something we do 24/7, 7 days a week. We send our kids to school with a lunch bag. We said, don't get bullied, but we never take the time to teach them how to be better at communicating. And what I mean by that is, the reason people don't buy from you, the reason you're frustrated is you run a pattern called depression. You run a pattern called push people away. You run a pattern called don't buy from me. You run a pattern, not you personally, but you run a pattern. And what most of us do is our communication is equivalent to the results we're getting in this business. So you can eventually get to the day where when you walk up to someone, you say, look, buddy, I'm just going to make a recommendation. This is something you needed to do. My buddy called me the other day, told me to buy a monkey NFT. I paid $35,000 for an NFT. I didn't even know what the hell an NFT was 6 months ago. I bought a $35,000 one because this guy, I respect him and our communication is so great. Whipped out 35 grand, wire transferred, set up a crypto, did something, bought, I don't even know what I was doing. And I bought a picture of a monkey. Okay. But it was crazy. It went up to 50. But the point is, why am I bringing this up? That guy's communication with me communicates in a way that I respect and listen to him. It's not that the guy's rich, it's the way he communicates with me. So I will tell you that these people don't have a lazy issue. They're passionate, but you're dying in a passion puddle. You're sweating because you're nervous. You're spitting because you're excited. Passion's not what's going to make this business work. Becoming an influential communicator is what's going to make you wealthy. And every one of you can do it in your own style.
That's powerful, because how many times do people in network marketing, and I was at fault of this when I first started, I'm working with, one of the strongest personalities I've ever met in this entire world, actually the strongest, which says a lot, and still one of my best friends. It's actually his birthday tomorrow. And
who's that?
His name's Lon Wardrop.
Okay.
And I think if he got in a room with Michael Jordan, he would bully Michael Jordan.
Okay.
That's what I think. So total stud, learned a ton from him, helped push me to become much, much better. But at the beginning, I misinterpreted principles and techniques. And so the principle, like you talked about, of becoming so good at communication, for me, I misinterpreted his boldness, and the technique of how he delivered that boldness is how I had to do it. And of course, my results went way, way, way down until I actually learned, okay, wait, what is the bold version of me? How would I communicate that? How would I articulate that? What's the principle of what he's saying? Like he would say things when I would be like, well, how do I invite someone? He's like, I just tell people, give me your credit card or we're going to make a ton of money. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I would never say that. But I said, you know what? There's power in brevity, right? He's being the preview to the movie. He's keeping it short and sweet and being really confident. He's being bold. And so I said, okay, how can I apply that with my unique style and personality? And I think this happens so much in network marketing where they just confuse principles and techniques. And I don't know if you've seen that, or how do you teach people to, and I know that's part of what you do with your events, which everybody should go to. You can just go to michaelbernoff.com. You'll find like his different events that he's got going on, depending if you're listening to this live or in 3 years from now, he'll still be having them going on. But how can someone up their game with their communication, find their voice?
Let's first do this. So communication is big word. It's language, it's intensity of words. It's like, I get phone calls. I do high level negotiation for clients. I'm also the guy that there's probably the biggest YouTuber in the world that your kids shouldn't watch. That's also a boxer now. And I've helped him with his mindset. So you can figure out who that is if you'd like. I'll leave it at that. Does that make sense? So I do his mindset stuff. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. And I would fly up and work with him with his stuff that he's got going on. But the point is, why I'm saying this is, whenever you're going to work on something, let's break it down. So let's pick a part of the industry. There's team building, there's recruiting, there's selling, there's introduction, there's interviews, there's getting people on videos, there's stuff. So let's take a part and let's add to it. So one of the best examples I can give, and then I'm going to have you pick an industry thing. Someone said the other day, they were teaching this, and it was such a great idea. They said, if you're shooting a target, whether it's a bow and arrow or a gun, and you're shooting at a target, you cannot manipulate the target because the target is not you, but you can change where you aim, okay, and where your eyes look by changing your focus. So instead of looking at like, I've got to accomplish this whole big thing called network marketing, and I got to be on stage, and I got to be the next Rob, and I got to be the next voodoo master. I mean, Dexter Yeager's been at this longer than us. I don't even know if Dexter's still alive in Amway, but he's been at this longer than us, 60 something years. Does that make sense? So we can't be them. We need to be full version of us. And that's one thing I'm just going to challenge everyone. I'm 6'6". A guy years ago comes up to me, goes, how tall are you? I go, I'm 6'6". He goes, why don't you start acting like it? I go, what do you mean? He goes, you play your life like you're 5'11". There's nothing wrong being 5'11" if that's your height, but your height's 6'6". You need to play 6'6". So you could be 5'1", and if you're playing all 5'1", you get to be the next Michael Jordan. Because, and I don't mean physically in basketball. I mean, Michael Jordan would be looking up to your ass if you would play full version of you. But the problem is, we're like, oh my God, look at Rob, look how great he is. Stop looking up to everyone and start looking up to you. So let's pick a part of the business. Because folks, I mean, I looked up to Wayne Gretzky as a kid. I need to stop doing that. I needed to look up to me and then make Wayne Gretzky watch my ass do things. So anyways, let's pick a part of the business, dude. Pick a part, any part. And I'm going to teach everyone how to be better in 3 minutes.
Okay. Pick a specific skill that people.
Yeah. Like not even a skill, like an area of the business. Meeting, prospecting, recruiting. Like let's get a part that's the problem with prospecting. It's like there's a confidence issue involved in there that people need to get better at. So I'm going to leave that one be for a minute. Let's talk with the people that would be watching your show. They've been in at least a minute and they've got some level of, I've at least brought 3 people in, or I've done this for a second. I've made at least $80. That's who's watching.
What about, I would say past that, because I actually think this affects recruiting. I think one of the reasons why people don't recruit and sponsor is the secondary part is they feel like they struggle with duplication. And part of that is because, of course, they feel like imposter syndrome. They can't lead, and I'm not capable of leading, and who am I? And so because of that, they also stop sponsoring and recruiting and go into this management mode and become a manager instead of a leader. So that's a big problem.
So let's talk about sponsoring.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about sponsoring right now. And I'm going to steal something from an old book, The Talmud. I'll steal a little word from you. And they say, if you save a life, you're responsible for it. That's old. Okay. What that means is if you're going to bring someone into entrepreneurship, you are not responsible for someone's success, but you are responsible for being your best if they're going to ask for help. So if you're going to ask someone for their $300, $500, $99 for distributor kit, that's where things change. So let's talk about everyone here in duplication. The most nonsense concept in the entire industry is duplication. And the reason why I'm going to say it's nonsense is because it isn't going to happen the way you think it is. What you are going to get is some duplication, not ultimate duplication. It's just, there's humans involved. You know what I'm saying? So people are going to have different styles and theories.
I'm a parent. You're a parent. You know that because we can teach the kids the exact same thing. I got 4 kids. They're all so different.
So duplication, if I were to be honest, which I'm going to be because I always am, BS concept, sounds good on paper. Let's talk reality. Okay. So here's reality. Let's become and understand that our job in life is to become what's called drug dealers. So let's talk about that for a minute. I don't mean a street drug dealer. I mean the drugs inside of our brain. So if you're not familiar with what I do, there's good guys and bad guys. Like if you met people that use the skills in direct sales, there's some bad people in this industry. I mean, let's get real. There's some bad dudes and some bad ladies, right? They're using the skills to do things that are just not all in the up and up. Same skills used for the wrong thing. So in my business, I teach people how to get people's attention, lower resistance, increase receptivity. The bad guy version of me, they work for CNN, they work for Fox, NBC, ABC. They work as addiction experts for Facebook. These are my friends. I know these people. I love these people. I love them with their hearts. I'm not going to judge them for their decisions to make a fortune working for these companies, but the same skills that we have to change people's lives, make them entrepreneurs, they're using an Instagram to hook your children. I'm just going to be honest. So let's use those same skills to hook people to get obsessed with being entrepreneurs and want to be the next level of dynasties in their business. So let's talk about drug dealing. Let's talk about the two drugs that we need to talk about: dopamine and cortisol. Cortisol drips 10 times stronger than dopamine. What cortisol is the fear drug. Dopamine is the excitement drug. So what most of us do is we get people started in business and we go, oh my God, the comp plan's amazing and the products are great. That is a 45-minute high that you're going to get somebody. Cortisol attached to dopamine is going to change their life forever. So I'm going to ask a very powerful question right now, a recruiting question that offers you the ability to create what I'd call an anchor, which means later on when Rob wants to quit, I can reapply the anchor back on Rob. So I might say, Rob, you're not you right now. You're you pre-children, years ago, just got in direct sales. And I say, Rob, so let me ask you a question. What's not perfect in your life yet?
Ooh, nothing's perfect in my life.
Got it. So like, what's not where you want it to be?
That's a good question. Nothing comes to mind right now. Nothing's
No, I don't mean you personally now. I mean you like a decade, 15 years ago.
A decade ago, I felt guilt because my goal was always to be able to go on a ton of family vacations and be there even for my little kids. And I knew that I didn't make the time. In my mind, I thought I didn't have the time, but I didn't make the time. So
do people like to bitch and complain? Yes or no, globally?
Yes.
Okay. So if we know they like to bitch and complain, we know the Inquirer outsells any newspaper and magazine on earth because people like drama. Should we just learn something from it? So I don't want you to complain and be negative, but you would rather tell me what's wrong and blame other people. We'll fix this later, but I'm just looking to get into your psychology. So you're going to tell me, so that's not fun that you can't take your kids on vacation. So while we're going over what we're explaining for the next hour of this presentation, can we think about your kids? Can we think about your future? Can we think about those vacations? See his face right now, everybody? I want you to watch. He was going like this. Even though this is fake, his dopamine was leaking. Let's think about them and let's have a conversation about your family and your life. That's what this business is about. If you wind up getting rich, great. But really, I want to think about getting those vacations for you. And then the serotonin kicks in, which is the feeling you get when you feel like you're proud of yourself. And I'm going to turn to you and I'm going to say to you, I'm going to say, Rob, can I just commend you in advance? You should be super proud of yourself. The fact that you're even having this conversation with me, that you want to change things, says a lot about your personality.
I love the positive affirmation compliment because it is genuine. It is sincere.
It's the truth.
Well, yeah. And when someone says something reaffirming the decision that they felt like they are making, that's a good one. It's so important. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you order something, and then you ask the server, hey, like, is this good? You want the server to tell you the truth, right? but you're hoping. The truth is, yes, it's absolutely amazing. This is one of the best items on the menu. And going back to what you're saying, even though it's fake, it isn't fake, because I'm putting myself back to where I was 10 years ago, and the emotion and the pain, right, was so high of not being able to, and the pleasure of someday hopefully being able to was so high that that's actually what drove me in my awful months when I'm like, what the crap am I doing? When is this thing going to happen?
So I would say to you, I said, look, you should just be really proud of yourself. And I'm not saying I'm proud of you, because me saying I'm proud of you doesn't matter. This need for a mommy and daddy to tell us we did a good job is not what we were after. We were really after being proud of ourselves. So when I say to you, point blank, you should be proud of yourself. And you're like, you know what? I never thought about that, Michael. And then I'm going to make the statement that's going to really get you hooked into the company. It's called oxytocin, which is the ability to feel like you're connected with someone. The Marines do this, gangs use this. I will tell you that all cultures use this, all tribal organizations use the ability to use oxytocin. And I would say, and this is every major company in network marketing does it, so you should be doing it in your team as well. I would say that's what we do here. We are a group of people that are working together to align ourselves with incredible humans to help uplift each other and get ourselves from where we are to where we want to go. What this does, Rob, is it eliminates the price issue. How much is it to get started? That just became irrelevant. Like, have your kids ever done martial arts?
No.
Okay. Do your kids take tennis lessons? How much are tennis lessons?
They do tennis lessons. They're too much.
Okay. So
they're 90 bucks an hour.
Okay. My kid with figure skating as well. So we don't question that. So let me just take something out of the industry perspective. I had a guy that I train a lot of people in the direct sales industry of martial arts. So people call the martial arts gym, and the first question they have is, so how much is it? And I've trained them to say this: wrong question. What would you like it to do? Well, I don't know. What could it do? And then watch this. So instead of getting $200 a month, I've trained gyms to get $1,000 a month. And you're thinking $1,000 a month for my kid to go to martial arts? That's too expensive. Not when I say it like this. So here's what we are. Martial arts is the term we use with the IRS, because that's what we call it. So let's put that over here for a minute. But really what we are is we are a group of individuals that are looking to build a relationship with you and your family to help raise your child to be effective in the world, to do well in school, to get through life without having the issues of bullying, to get great grades, to eventually be able to go to college or start a business of their choice, and the ability to work directly with you to raise your child to be an incredible member of society. So one day you're out and about, people say, how did you do that? You can take the credit, but you'll know that we did it together. So it's only $9.99 a month. Do you understand what I just offered you? It's the same thing. It's a gym membership, but it's positioning. So what all of us have to realize is our job with recruiting, we're not offering people a box. Like when you got started, do you remember your first distributor box you opened?
Oh, of course I do. Yes, 100%.
Okay. So let me tell you how to up that level of that box opening. So let's pretend my book is the box. So when you open that, I'm like, you could call me on Zoom and go, hey, let's open up your box. Rob, before you open up the box, there's something I want to tell you. Do you know that the fact that you even purchased that you got started with this, that you invested in yourself, says incredible things about you? You're about to experience something most people never have done before. Your future's in that box you're about to open. Now the distributor kit has an anchor attached. If not, it's just freaking a bunch of vitamins. It's a bunch of services. You have to make it worth something. So it's like giving your kid the ultimate tennis racket. Like back in the day, what's a great racket today?
It depends on the person, but my kids are using Wilson rackets right now.
Okay, that's what we use. Hit Wilson and Head when we were kids. Yeah. And someone would hand you the Wilson racket. I just want to let you know that this is the highest level carbon alloy market. This is the same thing that Roger Federer would have used back in the day. Does that make sense? Yeah. This is what Agassi, when I was a kid, would have used back in the day. I just want to let you know you're about to touch the greatest racket made. That is a better experience. So our job is experience experts. So it could be so much fun. So you wonder, like, dude, why are my people distracted? Why are they watching Netflix and not building the business? Because you're being boring. We need to make this fun. So does that make sense, what I just said?
Yeah. And I love how you just simplified at the end, is because you're being boring, right? Like people are looking for that, and they got so many distractions right now, but it's all the time when people are like, well, people only watch videos if they're 1 minute. That's not true. Look at Joe Rogan right now, right? Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Good content is good content. If you're not boring, they'll watch. Look at people watching Netflix. they'll go binge for 10 hours, but you are claiming that they won't watch a 5-minute video of yours. That's because
you're boring.
You're being boring.
And you haven't connected with them. So when I first got started, I realized it was my job. So I got to keep this person in long enough to screw up and get their first person. So they have like responsibility. So you know what I used to do, Rob? I used to say this. Back in the day, your first year in network marketing was our first book. I think we talked about this. Did I share this when we talked last time? I'm trying to remember where I talked about the book, how I do that trick with the book. Yeah. So what I would do is I'd say, go down to the bookstore, I'm not going to even work with you if you don't buy this book. Get to page 11, call me when you're done. And they'd go down, they'd get to page 11, they'd read me one of the words, and they felt like they accomplished something. It's that whole pledgeship. It's that missionary work. It's like you've done what you said you were going to do. And once somebody succeeded, I started looking for champions. I would find my favorite book. Like back in the day, it was Og Mandino's The Greatest Miracle in the World, right? Which is a great book. And I would buy a copy of Og's book, which I have up here. And I would go to I'd sign the front cover, like, dear Rob, super excited about our future together. We're going to do great things over the next couple of years. And then this is my crazy trick. And guys, give me credit if you're going to do this. I'd go to page like 52 and I'd write right there in the binding, call me when you get here. Only winners get this far. And I put my phone number in there. I never told them it was there. And then I'd mail them the book. If they got to that page, I had a winner. If they didn't, I don't have a winner, or they can't read, one of the two. But the point is, I always made it fun. I kept them looking for Easter eggs. I got them excited. They felt like they were part of something. Our job is to keep it interesting and entertaining. I promise you, if you're not good at recruiting, you probably don't have a great marriage either. And the reason I'm telling you that is you're not keeping it interesting, keeping it exciting. You've got to keep it interesting. You can have a good marriage, but if you want a great one, keep it interesting, keep it exciting, keep playing games.
That's fun. That is so fun. Gamification is so important, guys. Like, pay close attention. And nowadays we're doing a lot of blitzes and challenges inside of these network marketing teams. And what I always tell them is you got to mix it up. Just like Michael's teaching you, you can't just say every single time it's 5 days. It's like sometimes it's 3 days, sometimes 5 days, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 1 day. Sometimes it's focused on social media. And other times it's focused on sponsoring and recruiting, right?
It could be a push-up challenge. It could be a push-up challenge. Who cares?
Change it up. So you're creating where it's interesting and it's fun and it creates this culture as you go and makes a difference. Well, where, Michael, can people best find you, and which events? Tell us just a little bit about your different, because I know you have different types of events.
Yeah, this is where everybody begins. I got a million things I do. If you're super serious, super high end, you just go and find me. If you want to have that conversation, that's for those people.
You just use a network marketing term there. You didn't even know it. Super. You're not in network marketing if you don't say the word super. So
okay, got it. So I just used it. Okay, great. So I'm in network marketing now. But for everyone, including people making millions of dollars a year, everyone needs to start one place. We need to understand how the unconscious mind works, and it works through the auditory senses the best. I'm old school. I'm 44 years old. I grew up on the phone. I have the most gorgeous $50,000 Zoom studio downstairs. All of my programs start on the phone with teleseminars. And here's why. If we cannot master vocal communication and auditory learning, you're never going to be an effective speaker and presenter, period. And I've trained some of the biggest speakers in the industry and some of the biggest people in this space this way. So the best place to get started is our call to action program. 5 days working live with me, kick your butt, hold your hand. If you want access to that, I believe it's calltoactionnow.com. You don't even need a discount code with Rob. I just had my team, I slacked in the middle, cut the price in half. It's a few $100 to work with me. It's kind of embarrassing when I have a program for a few $100, but it's a few $100 to work with me. It's calltoactionnow with the number 2.com. I'd start there, and there'll be an option to pick up my book also. And if you're like one of those people that want to move a little slower, just go get my book, get it on Amazon, or get it on averagesucks.com, which will give you some extra bonuses as well. But that's all I'd begin. I'd start with call to action, but you know who you are. If you're like, I want the voodoo, you come find me. And I'm just going to say it like that. Like, Rob, you came and found me. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how all this works. So that's what I would do, is calltoactionnow.com and do that program. I guarantee in 5 days, you'll get more done than you have in 5 months. But here's the coolest part. You're going to watch me get 200 to 300 total strangers to become more effective and communicate better in 5 days, steal, adopt, and duplicate some of the stuff that I do, because it's going to make a difference for you. It'll be not duplicate, but borrow. It'll be very powerful. So any other thoughts or questions? I mean, that's my 2-second pitch.
I love it. And just so you all know, we're gonna be doing a lot more together. Really
Yep.
excited to be doing stuff with Michael. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm always collaborating the best I can with the best, and that's what's helped me more than anything else. And so, just honored that we finally, I know we
Finally.
for an hour last week, and then now we're already doing this awesome interview, and I know we're going to have much more to come, so you guys will want to stay tuned. Thank you so much for tuning in, wherever you're watching, wherever in the world you're watching. I think podcasts now has been listened to, I looked last night, 133 countries.
Boom.
So that's just fun to see.
That's your greatness, buddy. That's your entertainment level. You got to give yourself some kudos. You get a 5-star in my book for entertainment.
I just get on really cool guests like yourself, and then I learn from them and just keep improving and making it happen. So until the next time, friends.